In the midst of a deafening, bustling bar, a young woman could be seen drinking herself into oblivion, trying to forget her troubles. No one knew how many glasses she had already emptied. Her face was flushed, and she was slightly drunk, yet she had no intention of stopping, because today had been the worst day of her life, one she desperately wanted to forget. As the alcohol took hold, she finally vented all the resentment bottled up inside her. The heroine cried out in despair over being cheated on. "Hey, bartender, another drink, please. I want the strongest one." A boyfriend cheating with his best friend. Isn't that something that only happens in novels? Why? Why do I have to be this unlucky? Boo-hoo. Kyo Trake. Lunguye. How could you two do this to me? I trusted you so much. Hearing her complaints, the bartender sympathetically slid another freshly mixed drink toward her and offered some comfort. "It's a good thing you discovered those scumbags for who they are. This dream awakener is on the house." The heroine looked up and laughed. Hee hee. Ha ha. Thank you. Without thinking much about it, she took the drink the bartender had given her and tipped her head back, draining it in one gulp. For some reason, after drinking it, her head began to spin. Why am I suddenly so dizzy? Everything before her gradually became blurry. In the end, she collapsed and lost consciousness. Seeing her slumped over the table, the bartender smiled meaningfully before reaching out to retrieve the dream awakener glass. The heroine was taken to a VIP room upstairs. When she vaguely opened her eyes and began to regain consciousness, she suddenly heard a man with a husky voice ask, "You're awake?" Under the effects of the drug, she involuntarily wrapped her arms around the unfamiliar man's neck. She murmured pleadingly, "It's so hot, so hot. Help me." Tempted by her sweet words, the man could no longer restrain himself and pounced like a starving tiger. His face was just as flushed as hers. "It'll be fine. Hurry." And so, what was bound to happen happened. The two strangers spent a passionate night together. That had been 2 months ago. Now, while at work, the heroine shuddered slightly as she recalled that heated encounter. It's been 2 months already. Why am I still dreaming about it? The colleague sitting opposite her noticed that she had awakened and said with concern, "Senior, you're awake? You were sweating so much, so I bought you some food. Have a little." Rubbing her aching head, the heroine replied, "Thank you." But as soon as she opened her lunchbox, the smell of food made her stomach churn. "Ugh, it smells so fishy." To her female colleague's surprise, the heroine immediately covered her mouth and rushed into the restroom. The moment she entered the restroom, she could no longer hold it in and began vomiting violently. Her kind colleague gently patted her back and asked, "Senior, are you okay? Why are you suddenly throwing up so badly? Don't tell me you're pregnant." Realizing that she had been careless, the colleague quickly corrected herself. I was only joking. I heard you're still single. Senior, you really need to take better care of yourself." Though casually spoken, her colleague's words struck the heroine like a bolt of lightning. Her eyes widened in panic. "No way. It was only that one night. It can't possibly be such a coincidence, right? It can't be that I got pregnant after only doing it once, can it?" Full of doubts, she went to obstetrics and gynecology room 1 for an examination. But the truth stunned her when she saw the ultrasound results. The doctor's words made her limbs go weak. She stared fixedly at the report in her hands, unable to believe it was real. "Miss Thin, congratulations. You're pregnant. The fetus is already 10 weeks old and is currently quite stable." Seeing her frozen like a statue and unresponsive, the doctor called out again, "Miss Thin." Not knowing whether to laugh or cry at her current predicament, the heroine asked in a daze, "I'm pregnant? I'm really pregnant." The intimate scene from that night flooded back into her mind. But the most troubling part was that she did not even know who the child's father was. What do I do? I suddenly have a child all by myself. What am I supposed to do next? The incident had happened too suddenly, and the shock was too much for her to process. The heroine fainted. Seeing this, the doctor anxiously called to her, "Miss Thin? Miss Thin, are you all right?" Realizing that the situation was serious, the doctor called out, "Someone, hurry in here. The patient has fainted." At that moment, someone kicked the clinic door open from outside. A group of imposing men dressed in black stormed in. The doctor looked at them warily and asked, Who are you?" The leader said nothing. He merely threw a suitcase down in front of the doctor with a thud. "This money is for you." Then he bent down and took the heroine from the doctor's arms. Before leaving, he issued a threat. "You must never reveal what happened today. Otherwise, bear the consequences yourself." 5 years later, at South City Airport, a plane slowly landed. The assistant saw the male lead emerge and immediately went over to report. "President, you see, the young master hasn't eaten anything all day. Would you like to return to the villa first?" UC Nam Tan, exuding the icy aura of a powerful CEO, asked, "Why are you only telling me now?" Sweating nervously, the assistant hurried to explain, "You had an important contract in Chicago, and I was afraid of delaying it, so I didn't notify you. I never expected the young master to actually go on a hunger strike." UC Nam Tan, the chairman of Thin Duong Hotel, pushed his glasses down slightly and gave him a sharp, cold look. "Since when have you been allowed to make decisions for me?" His icy tone made the assistant's legs tremble. Just then, a tiny chocolate candy rolled to a stop by his feet. UC Nam Tan bent down and picked it up. As he examined it, a small hand suddenly appeared and tugged lightly at his clothes. When UC Nam Tan looked over, he discovered an adorable little girl with wide, round eyes standing before him. Thin Tu Tin, Thin and Neen's daughter, held out her hand and said, "Uncle, if you want chocolate, you should buy some yourself. I don't have any extra to share with you." For some reason, UC Nam Tan felt an indescribable sense of familiarity when he came into contact with the little girl. He asked gently, "Do you like this brand of chocolate?" "Yes. Do you like it too, Uncle?" Looking at her, UC Nam Tan wondered, "Who is this child? I've never seen her before. Why does she seem somewhat familiar?" His expression left the assistant behind him stunned. Didn't President UC dislike other people's children? Why was he being so gentle with this little girl? UC Nam Tan gently rubbed Thin Tu Tin's head and replied, "I don't like it very much, but the little boy at my home loves it, so I bought him a lot. I can give you a box." As he spoke, he gestured to his assistant. The assistant hurriedly took a box of chocolates out of his bag and handed it over. Thin Tu Tin loved chocolate, but since it was from a stranger, she hesitated. Her mother had told her that she could not casually accept things from other people. Seeing that it was getting late, the assistant urged, "President UC, it's time to go." After hesitating for a while, Thin Tu Tin made a bold decision. She suddenly stepped forward and gave UC Nam Tan a quick kiss on the cheek. With a cheerful giggle, she said, "Now it's okay." Then she happily accepted the box of chocolates from his hand. As he turned to leave, she enthusiastically waved goodbye. "Bye-bye, Uncle." UC Nam Tan chuckled softly and waved back at her. Looking happily at the huge box of chocolates in her hands, the little girl thought, "That uncle is handsome and kind. It would be wonderful if he could be my daddy." Just then, a piercing shout rang out behind her, startling her. "Ting du ding." The person who had shouted was Thin and Neen, the daughter of the Thin family. "Didn't Mommy tell you to stay right there? Why did you run off?" After saying that, she angrily picked up her daughter. Thin Tu Tin timidly explained, "And my chocolate fell, so I went to pick it up." Noticing the unfamiliar box of chocolates in her daughter's hands, Thin and Neen picked it up and asked, "Where did you get this?" Feeling guilty, Thin Tu Tin looked away and answered, "A handsome uncle thought I was cute, so he gave it to me." Realizing that her daughter had ignored her teachings and casually accepted something from a stranger, Thin and Neen flared up again. "He gave it to you? Why didn't you just go off with him then?" Unable to argue, Thin Tu Tin could only admit her mistake. "Mommy, I was wrong. I'll stand in the corner for 3 minutes." At her daughter's suggestion, Thin and Neen gave a chilling smile. "Oh, no, 10 minutes. Unwilling to accept that, Thin Tu Tin tried to bargain. 10 minutes is too long. "Mommy, reduce it a little." But Thin and Neen was not about to agree. Shaking a finger, she said, "No, stop talking. If you keep bargaining, I'll have more time." The little girl could only helplessly make a gesture of zipping her mouth shut. "Let's go, Tin Tin. We're going home." Early the next morning at Thin Duong Group, it was Thin and Neen's first day of work. Unfortunately, she had overslept. She hurriedly changed into business attire and rushed to the company. "Oh no, I might be late. I hope Tin Tin behaves herself at home." Seeing the elevator doors about to close, she shouted, "Wait, please wait." She rushed into the elevator, repeatedly apologizing. Saw thee, I'm in a hurry for an interview." Realizing that she was standing too close to someone, she instinctively stepped backward. But unexpectedly, a strand of her hair caught on the other person's shirt button. Embarrassed, she looked up at UC Nam Tan and asked, "I'm so sorry. Could you please help me?" Her impulsive action made everyone accompanying UC Nam Tan nervous. The atmosphere in the elevator instantly turned icy, and everyone fearfully moved aside. Didn't President UC have an obsession with cleanliness? Who was this woman? Why was she riding the executive elevator? UC Nam Tan gave her a deep, unreadable look. Then, without a word, he reached out and freed her hair from his button. Noticing her nervousness, he calmly reminded her, "Don't move. Relax." The moment Thin and Neen heard his voice, her entire body stiffened. That voice sounds so familiar. Unconsciously, she recalled what had happened 5 years ago. The man she had spent that night with had a similar voice. "It'll be fine soon." Thinking of that passionate scene, her cheeks instantly flushed red. Thinanine lightly slapped her face with both hands to calm herself down. Why am I suddenly thinking about that? What am I doing? Her hair was finally free. Thank you. For some reason, Thinanine found the man before her strangely familiar. His figure was exactly like that man from 5 years ago. With that thought, she kept staring at UC Namtan. Seeing her lustful gaze, his assistant stepped forward and challenged her. "Miss, you're in such a hurry. Are you here to strike up a conversation with him?" The assistant's words led the two of them to entirely different conclusions, and UC Namtan's brows furrowed. Strike up a conversation? Up Namtan suddenly understood. Recalling what she had just done, he misunderstood and assumed that his assistant was right. This woman seemed to be deliberately trying to get close to him. With that thought, the favorable impression he had of her immediately worsened. Seeing his look, Thinanine understood what he was thinking. What kind of look is that? She thought angrily. Damn it, I actually sincerely thanked him for helping me out of that awkward situation just now. The assistant impatiently pointed outside the doors. "Miss, please get out. The employee elevator is over there." Knowing that these people had misunderstood her, Thinanine unhappily tried to explain, "Wait, I really am here for." "I'm not." But before she could finish, someone decisively and mercilessly shoved her out of the elevator. Having been treated that way, Thinanine unleashed a furious rant. "Oof, who does he think he is? How ridiculous. What do you mean? Striking up a conversation. He looks like some top male escort at a nightclub." Her insult made the assistant break into a cold sweat as he cautiously glanced at President UC. Did this applicant have a death wish? She actually dared to call President UC a male escort. "Up namtang vimai et busin." Other than his cold demeanor, he showed no obvious displeasure. But inwardly, he was holding a grudge. She deliberately approached me, then maliciously slandered me. This woman is something else. Thus, he made a decision to cut off her path to success. "Go tell Manager Lee that I'll attend the 10 o'clock interview." Meanwhile, Thinanine pushed open the waiting room door and found it filled with countless people. Wow, so many people are here for the interview. As soon as she sat down, she happened to overhear two women nearby chatting. "I just heard some insider news. President UC will be coming to the interview later." "Really? I heard President UC is tall and handsome. Even though he has a child, he doesn't have a wife. If he's one of the interviewers, doesn't that mean we'll have a chance?" "Maybe, but I heard he has problems in that department." "Ha ha." Listening to the two women gossip, Thinanine imagined President UC as a balding, elderly man. CEOs who already had children were usually over 40, after all. This President UC must be a bald, old man with a beer belly. While she was lost in thought, the announcement called her name. Next, Thinanine, hearing that it was her turn, she stood up and called out loudly, "Here." But the moment she pushed open the interview room door and stepped inside, she froze. Among the people interviewing her was someone who looked very familiar, someone she had met not long ago. "Isn't that the man from the elevator?" UC Namtan also turned his deep gaze toward her. Looking over her resume, he asked coldly, "You attended the Wharton School of Business?" Thinanine lowered her head nervously and spoke softly. "I haven't graduated. I never received my university diploma." A man on the interview panel frowned in displeasure when he heard that. "So you dropped out? Do you think Thin Duong Group is so easy to get into? Why would Human Resources allow someone like this in?" Just as he was about to continue venting, UC Namtan suddenly raised a hand. "Enough," he asked blandly. "Did you read Thin Duong Group's recruitment requirements? Your work experience in Germany alone does not meet the standards for working at Thin Duong Group." As he spoke, he disdainfully tossed her resume onto the floor and snapped, "Get out." Remembering her attempt to approach him in the elevator earlier, he added mockingly, "Using useless tricks without a proper degree. What company would hire you?" As Thinanine bent down to pick up her resume, she became furious at his insulting words. She gritted her teeth, then slapped the documents down onto the table with a bang. She refused to back down and retorted forcefully, "If you think a diploma is the only thing that proves a person's ability, then let's make a bet." Chow Tram, UC Namtan's good friend, immediately became interested. "Beautiful lady, what do you want to bet with him?" Thinanine patted her chest, full of confidence. and boldly declared, I will work at a Thin Duong Group hotel for 3 months and ensure that its monthly profits increase by over 30%. If I succeed, I want Thin Duong Group to hire me as a full-time employee at triple the salary. Thin and Neen looked directly into UC Nam Tan's eyes and said each word clearly. And you must apologize to me. It had been a long time since Xiao Tram had seen anything this entertaining. So he kept urging UC Nam Tan, accept it, accept it, Nam Tang. If you don't accept, you're a coward. Annoyed by his friend's babbling, UC Nam Tan shot him a blade-sharp glare, making Xiao Tram wisely clamp his mouth shut. UC Nam Tan stood and walked over to face her. What if you fail? Thin and Neen made up her mind to take a major gamble. Then I'll sell myself to Thin Duong Group for 3 years. You can order me around however you like. Do you dare take the bet? Her determination made him pause in thought for a moment. As he passed by her, he suddenly stopped and turned back. Go home and wait for your work notice. I accept this bet. Seeing that there was nothing else exciting to watch, Xiao Tram quickly followed him. Nam Tan, wait for me. Let's go eat. As he reached the door, Xiao Tram did not forget to look back and encourage Thin and Neen. Beautiful lady, good luck. Once everyone had left, Thin and Neen finally felt as though a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Phew, at least I've temporarily secured the job. After a long day, she did not return to her apartment until evening. The moment she opened the door, Tu Tin ran over and hugged her. Mommy, you're back. The little girl proudly reported her achievements for the day. I memorized all my vocabulary, and I even heated the food in the microwave. Finished already? Thin and Neen's heart warmed, and she rewarded the little girl with a kiss. Good girl, sweetheart. The little girl happily took her mother's hand and pulled her inside. Mommy, come here quickly. Watching her daughter's growing figure, she felt a little nostalgic. In the blink of an eye, Tin Tin had grown so much. She still remembered that 5 years ago, the little girl had been so tiny. Seeing her mother lost in thought, the girl sitting at the dining table urged, Mommy, what are you thinking about? Come eat. Thin and Neen gathered her thoughts and gently stroked her daughter's head. At that moment, little Tin seemed to want to say something, but hesitated. Noticing this, Neen perceptively asked, What is it, Tin Tin? Suddenly, Tin Tin suggested, How about you and Daddy get divorced? Thin and Neen was quite startled to hear her daughter say that. Why would you suddenly say that? Looking sad, Tin Tin explained what she had observed. Because I think Daddy doesn't like Mommy. He visits less than twice a year, doesn't care about us, and never kisses Mommy sincerely. Honestly, I don't want a daddy like that. The girl climbed down from her chair, walked over to hug her, and asked expectantly, Mommy, can we get a new daddy? Thin and Neen's heart was filled with guilt. She had only wanted to keep the girl from overthinking. So every year, she found someone to pretend to be her father and visit them. She never expected Tin Tin to remember everything. When she did not hear a reply, the little girl looked up and thoughtfully continued, What are you thinking, Mommy? Don't worry about me. Go find a new daddy. As long as he likes us, I can accept having another brother or sister. Heartbroken, Thin and Neen hugged and comforted her daughter. Silly baby, Mommy only wants to take good care of you and watch you grow up. Tin Tin whined, But I want an older brother. I also want a daddy who spoils us like princesses. Her daughter's innocent words cut into Thin and Neen's heart. She silently told herself, Actually, baby, you really do have an older brother. But Mommy lost him. Meanwhile, Tin Tin had her own thoughts. It's a shame I didn't get to meet that uncle at the airport. He looked like he would be perfect for Mommy. The little girl made up her mind. All right, I'm definitely going to find a new daddy, one as gentle and handsome as that uncle. The next day at Thin Duong Group, following through on yesterday's bet, Thin and Neen arrived at the company early in the morning to begin her challenge. Coincidentally, it was also the company's 15th anniversary, so there were many special promotions. As a result, many customers came in early that morning. Hello, please check in over here. It's my pleasure to assist you. After serving several customers in a row, Thin and Neen was drenched in sweat. She had not expected her first day at work to coincide with the 15th anniversary. Why is there so much work? As she grumbled to herself, she suddenly heard someone call her from behind. Neen. She turned around to look. The person calling her was none other than Lenoyet, her former best friend, the one who had betrayed her. Neen, it really is you. Hello, it's been a long time. Pretending to be concerned, she rushed over and asked, "Anine, I heard you cut off contact with your family before going abroad. Have you seen your uncle since coming back?" Kyo Trake, Thin and Neen's ex-boyfriend, quickly reached out to pull his current girlfriend away. "Xiao Noyet, let's go." But Lin Noyet naturally refused. This was a perfect opportunity to show off in front of Thin and Neen. "Why should we go? I haven't caught up with Anine yet." Lin Noyet reached out to pull Thin and Neen toward the empty seats in front of them. "Come on, Anine. We haven't talked in years." Although displeased, Thin and Neen maintained her composure. "I'm sorry, but I'm still working," she silently reminded herself. "There are too many people in the lobby today. I can't cause a scene here." So she followed Lin Noyet into the elevator to talk. Once the doors closed, Lin Noyet enthusiastically began, "We haven't spoken in years." Lin Noyet raised her ring-clad hand and proudly showed it off. "Anine, will you come to Kyo Trake's and my engagement party on the 18th of next month? I hope you can come." Seeing the ring on Lin Noyet's hand, Thin and Neen's heart suddenly turned cold. Wasn't that the wedding ring she and Kyo Trake had chosen 5 years ago? Lin Noyet was delighted by Thin and Neen's expression and pressed on. "What? Are you afraid you won't have a male companion to bring?" "It's okay. I know lots of people. I can introduce someone to you." Disgusted, Thin and Neen said, "I'm busy with work. I don't have time." Unwilling to be outdone by this shameless woman, she lied. "I have a boyfriend, but I'm afraid he won't let me attend my ex-boyfriend's engagement party to my former best friend." Lin Noyet leaned closer and probed. "You have a boyfriend now? Why don't you call him out? I'd love to meet him. Or call him. We can see whether he has time." "No need. He's very busy." Seeing Lin Noyet persistently clinging to her, Thin and Neen coldly shook off her hand. "Let go of me." The force of her movement made her lose her balance and slip backward. Just as Thin and Neen thought she was about to fall flat on her face, she unexpectedly landed in the warm embrace of someone behind her. When she realized the person who had caught her was UC Nam Tan, her expression twisted. "Oh no, what rotten luck. Why does it have to be him?" Lin Noyet continued her act. "Anine, are you all right?" "Sir, my friend didn't mean to do it." Thin and Neen looked at UC Nam Tan, standing beside her, and her eyes suddenly lit up. A bold idea flashed through her mind. Under his bewildered gaze, she put on the blissful expression of a woman in love and coquettishly said, "Oh, darling, so you were here. Why didn't you say anything when you got in the elevator? Were you trying to surprise me?" L'Enguyeuse ressentit l'expression instantly darkened. Is he Anine's boyfriend? How could she possibly know a man like him? No, that can't be. Kyo Trake, her ex-boyfriend, silently observed UC Nam Tan as well. Lin Noyet believed someone like Thin and Neen could not possibly have such an outstanding boyfriend, so she tested her. "Anine, even if you want to prove that you have a boyfriend, you can't just drag a stranger into acting with you. That would put him in an awkward position." Thin and Neen desperately winked at UC Nam Tan, silently begging for help. UC Nam Tan had overheard their conversation and understood the situation somewhat, especially when he saw her pleading eyes. He could not bring himself to refuse. He wrapped an arm tightly around her and coldly said to Lin Noyet, "How much do you think she would have to pay to hire me to act?" Thin and Neen was quite surprised. He actually agreed to help me. The assistant beside him had followed UC Nam Tan for many years, so he immediately understood and played along. "President UC, this is today's anniversary ceremony speech. I've reviewed it, and there are no problems." Hearing that title, Lin Noyet froze for several seconds. President UC? Could he be the UC Nam Tan? Didn't everyone say he never gets close to women? How could Anine be with him? Just then, the elevator doors opened. Lin Noyet did not dare linger and pulled Kyo Trake outside. "Anine, we'll be leaving first. You're welcome to come then. Remember to bring President UC to our engagement party." As soon as the elevator doors closed, he pinned her against the wall. "Didn't you dare challenge me before? Are you scared now?" Thin and Neen pushed him away with all her strength. "President UC, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't stand so close." He replied meaningfully, "Weren't we even closer than this that day?" She immediately brushed it off. "I already said that day was an accident." "Oh, then was using me as a shield today also an accident? I help you because you're my employee, but if you keep pulling shady stunts, I guarantee this job will end very soon." The elevator doors shut with a bang. Thin and Neen's thoughts were a complete mess. This is so infuriating. Why do I keep doing such stupid things? Don't tell me he misunderstood. Even I think it looks like I'm interested in him. A female employee hurried over in panic. "Manager Thin, we finally found you. The young guest in the VIP room refuses to eat, and his family isn't here. If he gets hurt or starves, we'll be in huge trouble. Annoyed, Finn and Neen scolded. What kind of irresponsible parents leave their child alone in a room? All right, let's go take a look. She quickly arrived at the VIP room. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing her. Manager Thin is here. She looked around and asked, "Where is the child?" "He's inside." Manager Thin, "What should we do now?" Finn and Neen frowned and walked in. The room was in a complete mess. Furniture had been knocked over, and food was scattered across the floor. Seeing that the situation was difficult, she stopped before entering the boy's private room and instructed her subordinates, "Contact the child's family immediately. I'll go in and check." Watching her boldly walk inside, a male waiter nervously asked, "Are we really just letting her go in?" The person beside him replied, "Then why don't you go?" The waiter shuddered. "I'm not going. That little ancestor has such a terrible temper. If you provoke him, you're finished." Inside, the room was pitch black. Finn and Neen gently said, "Hello." The moment she spoke, a pillow flew toward her, but she easily dodged it on reflex. Seeing a stranger appear, the boy in the room became extremely nervous and clenched his fists. Every time Finn and Neen moved closer, he retreated farther back. She quickly crouched down and held the boy gently, then spoke to him in a soft voice. "Don't be nervous, little one. Can you tell me why you're angry?" The boy had been hanging his head, but when he suddenly heard her sweet voice, he unconsciously looked up. What met his eyes was the face of a remarkably beautiful woman. He instinctively felt fond of the person before him. So the boy awkwardly took out a pen and paper and began writing. Finn and Neen was surprised by this. Why doesn't this child speak? And how can someone so young already write? After finishing, the boy held up the paper for her to see. Though childish, his handwriting was very clear. "Bad Daddy said we were going out, but he didn't come back." After reading it, Finn and Neen indignantly criticized him. "That's outrageous. How can a father do that? When he comes back, I'll scold him for you." The boy smiled faintly and nodded. Just then, his stomach growled several times, making him blush in embarrassment. Finn and Neen stood up. "You're hungry, aren't you? I'll go get you something to eat." At that moment, the boy looked up at the ceiling and noticed something wrong with the crystal chandelier. He reached out to pull her back, but in the next instant, the chandelier, after swaying for a moment, snapped loose and suddenly fell. The boy's eyes widened in shock, and he stood frozen, unable to react. Finn and Neen disregarded everything and pulled him into her arms. She used her body as a shield to protect him. Hearing the crash, everyone anxiously rushed in. Manager Thin, "Young master." The force of the impact cut a deep gash in her arm. Her whole body went limp, and she collapsed unconscious. In her daze, she seemed to hear the boy in front of her call her, "Mommy." Meanwhile, at a private club, Yusi Namtan was leisurely drinking tea as he waited for a business partner. Suddenly, a woman lifted the curtain and walked in. When she saw him, her eyes brightened. "Namtan, it really is you." She eagerly sat down and began talking. "I came to see you about something. 2 days ago, I visited Grandpa, and he said that since you have Kanhai with you, there will be times when you can't look after him. It seems he wants to bring Kanhai home to live with him. It wouldn't be safe. He's better off staying with me. You don't need to try to persuade me." The woman gave a very fake smile. "Persuade you? I was just mentioning it. Forget it if you don't agree." Just then, his assistant rushed in anxiously. "President UC, the hotel called." The crystal chandelier in the young master's room suddenly fell. Before the assistant could finish, UC Namtan sprang to his feet in alarm. "Where is Kanhai? Is he all right?" The assistant continued. "The hotel staff said the young master was rescued in time and wasn't injured, but they took him to the hospital as a precaution." The woman's face suddenly darkened as though she were plotting something. UC Namtan urgently shouted, "Get to the hospital now." The woman followed after him. "Namtan, wait for me." They arrived at the hospital within minutes. Anxiously, he pushed open the door and called out, "Geng-hee." Inside the hospital room, Kanhai was sitting in a chair beside the bed, waiting for Thin and Neen to wake up. Hearing his father's voice, the boy turned around. Then he climbed down from the chair, ran toward UC Namtan, and hugged him tightly. Seeing that his son was acting differently, he asked, "Kanhai, what's wrong?" The boy did not speak. He only tugged his father toward the hospital bed where Thin and Neen lay. When he clearly saw that the person in the bed was Thin and Neen, UC Nam Tan could not hide his surprise. It's her? I never thought she would risk her life to save Kanhai. The woman from earlier suddenly appeared and waved at the boy. Hello, Kanhai. The moment Kanhai saw her, he fearfully hid beside UC Nam Tan. Feeling guilty, UC Nam Tan crouched down and gently stroked his son's head. Daddy is very sorry about what happened today. I promise I won't break another promise to you, all right? The woman also stepped forward, pretending to be gentle. Let me take him. He was probably frightened today. Little Kanhai, would you like to go eat with me? At the woman's touch, Kanhai's expression immediately grew tense. His entire body trembled as he pressed close to his father. Seeing this, the woman suggested, he's really frightened, Nam Tan. Let me take Kanhai home with me. A scared child needs rest. UC Nam Tan glanced at Thin and Neen lying in the hospital bed and instructed his assistant, tell the hospital to take good care of her. As UC Nam Tan came downstairs, he saw a car waiting at the hospital entrance. Seeing that the boy had fallen asleep, the woman asked, Kanhai's asleep? Yes. It's late. You should go home too. Knowing her opportunity was near, the woman quickly said, it's fine. My driver is waiting nearby. I know you don't intend to marry, but Kanhai needs someone to take care of him. I think Grandpa has a point. Marriage. Seeing the change in him, the woman added, call me anytime you need anything. Kanhai is rather close to me too. Faced with her invitation, UC Nam Tan said nothing. He simply told the assistant to step on the gas and drove off at high speed. The woman returned to her own car in frustration. Drive. As the driver drove, he glanced at her through the rearview mirror and said, Ms. Van, everything was going smoothly. I didn't expect that incident at the club to happen halfway through. Her voice was filled with venom. It's fine. If it had succeeded, it might not have been a good thing. If this frightens Nam Tan, he'll consider marriage instead. Her eyes gleamed dangerously as she instructed, don't touch that child for now. There will be another chance later. Over the next 2 days, I'll visit the hotel. Tell the assistant to prepare plenty of things children like for me to bring there. Several hours later, in hospital room 02, Thin and Neen gradually opened her eyes. Seeing her awake, Tin Tin happily cried out, Mommy, you're awake. Tin Tin, why are you still here? How long was Mommy asleep? The thoughtful little girl said, you hadn't come home, Mommy, so I was really worried about you. Then the hotel staff brought me here. Don't move, Mommy. The doctor said you can't leave the hospital until the day after tomorrow. Knowing her daughter had been worried, Thin and Neen apologetically said, Tin Tin, I'm sorry. Mommy made you worry. Ding ding poutet unyapali. You knew I'd worry, yet you still rushed in first. Do you know how dangerous that was? What if something had happened? As mother and daughter spoke, a knock sounded outside, interrupting them. Come in. Outside the door, the assistant entered carrying a large number of supplements. Manager Thin, President UC, instructed me to bring these. Thank you for saving our young master. Thin and Neen was bewildered. President UC? Young master? Do you mean that boy is UC Nam Tan's son? The assistant nodded repeatedly. Yes, that's right. Manager Thin, you are the young master's savior. If you need anything, just tell me. I won't disturb you any longer. Please rest. Upon hearing the words President UC, Tin Tin's eyes lit up and she became full of energy. President UC sounds very impressive. He might make a good daddy. She made up her mind to play matchmaker for her mother and find a daddy for herself as well. A few days later, at a coffee shop on a street somewhere, Tin Tin happily followed the address she had arranged and arrived there. The moment she pushed open the door, she spotted her target. Sure enough, a gentle-looking man with silvery blonde hair was seated over there, looking in her direction. Tin Tin walked over with a smile and greeted him. Are you Mr. UC? Hello, Mr. UC. We chatted online for so long, and I'm so happy to finally meet you in person. The gentle-looking man asked, Tin Tin, you're here? Come, sit down. Would you like some ice cream? At the mention of her favorite treat, the little girl's eyes curved into happy crescents. Wow, ice cream. Thank you, Grandpa. She took the cup of ice cream and ate as she asked. I thought I'd get to meet Uncle UC today. I didn't expect he wouldn't even come out to look for a date himself. No wonder he's still single. Mr. UC smiled kindly and defended UC Nam Tan. He's busy with work. Isn't your mother absent too? Tin Tin pouted and replied mischievously, that's true. We can only rely on ourselves to create opportunities for them. Mr. UC chuckled at her childish tone, rubbed her head, and asked, what little scheme have you come up with this time? Just trust that if they're meant to be together, they will be. But Tintin did not agree. Then how long will we have to wait? Grandpa, listen to my plan. As she ate, Tintin laid out her plan. Mr. UC was delighted by her fresh idea and even offered a few suggestions. When they were done, she said goodbye and went home. The butler, who had been accompanying him, finally spoke up. Sir, with the young master's qualifications, isn't finding a single mother a little too beneath him? Mr. UC's expression suddenly darkened. If you're dissatisfied, go find someone yourself. In any case, I'm quite pleased with her. Girls these days are all spoiled. If he chooses one of them, who will take care of Kanhai? Thinking of the adorable little girl he had just met, he became even more satisfied. Tintin was cheerful and clever. She must have been raised well. If Namtan had met someone like that earlier, Kanhai would not have suffered what happened 3 years ago. His voice became sorrowful, mixed with guilt and self-reproach. The butler sighed and consoled him. This is not your fault, sir. Please do not blame yourself so much. The young master does not blame you either. Mr. UC shook his head. If he didn't blame me, he wouldn't have taken Kanhai away and kept it by his side instead of letting him live with me as before. The next day, at a cafe, Tintin saw her mother staying home and anxiously urged her, Mommy, I really think you should go back to work. Finanine smiled and retorted, Work? Can't Mommy rest for 2 days? An opportunity to get paid without working doesn't come every day. Let's wait until next week. Seeing how outdated her mother's thinking was, Tintin sighed. Mommy, you have to seize opportunities. Finanine looked confused. What opportunity? Excitement flashed in Tintin's eyes. I mean your boss. He's not only handsome and rich, but he's also single. There must be lots of people chasing after him. If you don't work hard, what am I supposed to do in the future? Listening to her daughter ramble on, Finanine pinched her nose and asked, You've never even met my boss. How do you know he's handsome? Just then, Tintin spotted the person she had been waiting to meet. The little girl happily stood up, waved, and called out, Uncle, over here, over here. Seeing her daughter shout so wildly, Finanine nervously looked behind her. When she saw UC Namtan and the little boy from before, dressed in matching outfits, her whole body felt uncomfortable. It was him. What was going on? As if afraid he would not hear her, Tintin waved even harder. Uncle, over here, over here. Namtan was the kasupito si ting ting. Oh, it's that child. While he was distracted, Kanhai, who had been in his arms, had vanished without him noticing. The two children had apparently switched places and run toward the two adults. Finanine's eyes widened when she saw the boy. You're the child from that hotel room. Kanhai's face glowed with happiness at seeing her again. On the other side, Tintin looked at her mother and introduced him excitedly. Mommy, this is Uncle. He's the one who gave me chocolate at the airport that day. Finanine grimaced inwardly. How did this little girl know that he was her boss? The two adults spoke in unison. Is this your child? Remembering that she had saved his son, UC Namtan's expression softened considerably. Thank you very much for what happened to Kanhai that day. I was planning to bring Kanhai to your home to thank you properly when I had time. Finanine waved her hands awkwardly. No need, no need. Giving me time off can count as your thanks. Besides, ensuring guests' safety is my duty. UC Namtan looked at her and reminded her, taking leave is one thing, but don't forget our bet. Her expression immediately changed. She knew he was not being kind for no reason. We won't disturb you any longer today. Kanhai, let's go. He extended his hand toward his son. Strangely, when the boy heard that he was leaving, he looked as though he had encountered an enemy and kept shaking his head in refusal. UC Namtan called out again in dissatisfaction. Kanhai. Realizing that the situation was a little awkward, Finanine smiled and suggested, Since you're already here, if you don't mind, why not sit with us? It's a table for 4 anyway. Kanhai looked at his father expectantly, so his father could only sigh helplessly and agree. Father and son each ordered a different drink and drank silently. The atmosphere was so awkward that Finanine had to hold back her laughter. She quietly marveled that the dignified CEO of Thin Duong Group, UC Namtan, had such a side to him. Suddenly, Tintin extended her hand to Kanhai and sweetly asked, Big brother, I'm going to get some fruit. Do you want to come with me? Kanhai seemed shy at first, his face faintly reddening, but he did not refuse and nodded. Then he held out his hand for Tintin to take. Tintin naturally took his hand and led him toward the fruit bar ahead. Nam Time stay in Astonim. Kanhai was actually willing to stay beside a little girl. Seeing Tin Tin happily chatting with Kanhai ahead of them, Nam Tan said, "Your daughter is very lively." Fin and Neen smiled gently. Ding ding. She's always been mischievous, but she gets along well with children her age. President, you don't need to worry so much. As though recalling something, she asked, "Oh, right. Has Kanhai been unable to speak since before?" Afraid that Nam Tan might be upset, she quickly added, "I'm sorry. I was only asking. I didn't mean anything by it." Over there, Tin Tin was still enthusiastically introducing every item to Kanhai. When Nam Tan did not answer, Fin and Neen lowered her head in embarrassment and reproached herself. This mouth of mine is far too nosy. How embarrassing. Just when she thought he would refuse to answer, Nam Tan spoke calmly. Kanhai is not unable to speak. He simply does not like speaking. After choosing some snacks, the two children soon returned. "Mommy, we're back." Kanhai carefully handed her the plate of sweet pastries and fruit he had picked, his eyes full of expectation for praise. Noticing this, Tintin came up with another idea. She quickly went over and sat beside Nam Tan. "Uncle, I think Big Brother really likes my mommy. Why don't you let him sit next to her? I'll sit with you instead." Nam Tan gently corrected her. "His name is Kanhai." Tintin turned her big, round eyes toward Kanhai. "Then I'll call him Big Brother Kanhai." "Oh, right. How old are you this year, Big Brother Kanhai?" What if he was actually younger than her? Kanhai wanted to speak, but he was still hesitant, so he merely lowered his head and remained silent. Nam Tan had to answer for his son. He is 5 years old. He was born one day before the Mid-Autumn Festival. What about you, Tintin? Tintin's eyes sparkled as she was about to answer, "I am," but Thin and Neen hurriedly interrupted. Tintin was born on September 14th. Her heart was filled with unease and suspicion. How could it be such a coincidence? Kanhai had actually been born on the same day as Tintin. A while later, seeing that it was getting late, Thin and Neen went to the ball pit, where the two children were playing, and called, "Tintin, it's time for us to go home." Tintin's face immediately fell. "But I want to play with Big Brother, Kanhai, a little longer." Thin and Neen waved her hand and said sternly, "No." Fin 210, it's too late. The little girl walked over, naturally took Nam Tan's hand, and casually suggested to her mother, "Mommy, you won't have anything to do when you get home anyway. Why don't you talk with Uncle a little longer? It will also help the two of you develop your relationship." Fin and Neen blushed at her daughter's uninhibited words and scolded her. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Fin 210. She turned to him awkwardly. "President, this child is talking nonsense. Please don't take it to heart. I'll talk to her when we get home." Suddenly, Kanhai handed his father a note. Nam Tan took it and saw 6 simple words written on it. "Ask Tintin to come play at our house." After reading it, Nam Tan fell into thought. This was the first time Kanhai had made a request like this. Did Kanhai really like this mother and daughter pair so much? The boy looked at his father with innocent, expectant eyes, as if saying, "Please, Dad." Seeing his son's gaze, Nam Tan could only give in. He quickly slipped the note into his pocket, then turned to her and said, "How about next Saturday? I'll have someone pick you up and bring Tintin to my house." Caught off guard by the sudden invitation, Fin and Neen was stunned. Meanwhile, the two children, having achieved their goal, happily clapped their hands together like little angels. His voice softened. "Come on, I'll take you two home." His unwavering gaze made Fin and Neen's face flush. She avoided his eyes and replied, "Thank you, President, After seeing the mother and daughter home, while sitting in the car, Kanhai suddenly tugged on his father's sleeve and excitedly held up the drawing he had just finished. Looking at the picture, Nam Tan seemed to understand. Kanhai wanted a mother. The boy nodded vigorously, and the word "mommy" slipped unconsciously from his lips. Hearing his son speak after 3 years, Nam Tan's whole body froze. He joyfully pulled the boy into his arms. "Kanhai, do spoke. It has been 3 years since you last spoke." So he agreed to his son's request. "All right, Dad will find you the mommy you like." Kanhai nodded happily and nestled close against his father's chest with a faint smile. A few days later, at Thin Duong Group, after spending an exhausting day looking for a school for Tin, Fin and Neen returned to the company with disheveled hair and utter exhaustion. Oh, heavens, why is finding a kindergarten for Tin so difficult? She felt so drained that she could barely walk. Hearing the sound behind him, the assistant turned around. "Manager Thin, perfect timing. He walked over and got straight to the point. This morning, President UC asked about the group's event proposal for 2 months from now. When will you be able to submit it? Finanine awkwardly made an okay gesture. Understood. I'll prepare it soon. Though she smiled pleasantly on the outside, inwardly, she was fuming. The hotel anniversary event had only just ended, and he was already assigning her a group event. What was UC Namtan thinking? Even a ruthless landlord was not as demanding as him. Remembering the lunchbox she had brought with her, she took it out. Oh, right. These are a few dishes I made myself. The young master seemed to enjoy them last time. Could you help me bring them to him? The manager asked with concern. Is this your lunch? Aren't you going to eat? At the mention of lunchtime, Thin and Neen left dejectedly. My daughter's situation is rather troublesome, so I didn't have time to eat lunch. Don't let it go to waste. I'm busy, so I'll be going now. The assistant helplessly accepted it. All right. Looking at the lunchbox in his hands, the assistant hesitated. She only did not want to waste food, but would the young master really like this? Yet the assistant did not expect that once Kanhai learned that the food was from Thin and Neen, he immediately became extremely enthusiastic, happily accepted it, and devoured it. After finishing his work, Yusinam Tan came in and asked, "What is Kanhai eating?" The assistant answered, "Manager Thin asked me to bring it over for the young master." Yusinam Tan loosened his tie slightly and asked, "Have you told her about the group event?" She said she would submit it soon, but she has been busy finding a kindergarten for her daughter lately, so she probably does not have much time to prepare. Hearing this, Kanhai, who was sitting nearby, quickly wrote on his board. By habit, the words also came out of his mouth. I want to go to kindergarten too. Upnamtang imeditan zefa. No, kindergarten is too chaotic. Dad will find you a private tutor. Kanhai refused to compromise and kept writing. I want to attend the same kindergarten as Tin Tin. If you don't allow it, I'll tell Grandpa. Even so, Yusinam Tan held firm and waved his hand in refusal. Father and son went back and forth for quite a while, leaving the assistant speechless. Who would believe that the dignified president of Thin Duong Group was tormented by his son like this every day? Just then, Ms. Van knocked on the door and entered. Namtang, I made lunch for you, and Kanhai. Understanding the situation, the assistant took his leave. President UC, I'll step out first. UC Nam Tan paid the woman no attention and casually told his assistant, Nam Phuong, put everything else on hold for now and prepare for a wedding. The assistant had no idea what he meant and asked blankly, a wedding? Who is getting married? Up Nam Tang's my mini fun fu. Of course I am. Looking dashing, he smiled meaningfully. Of course I am.